And we're live. What's happening, guys? Thursday night. Kiwi is. I think he found a better YouTuber, honestly. I think because it's not like him to just cancel like that. But this happens. This happens. So, Coda Improvements. How are you doing, brother man? How is everything? So it's Thursday night. Been working on the mule. Chongo, what's happening? Greasy Garage. Bill McKeiska. Yeah. And let's see. Let me fix this a little bit. Yeah, that's better. That's better. Okay. Um, so yeah, no, Kiwi's off like another part of the planet or something tonight. So I'm flying solo. Well, I got you guys, of course, but Fubar, what's happening, Fubar? Um, I Spider Garage, what's up, brother? You know, the usual. Just living the dream. Living the dream. Reading things here. Uh, this is so odd, right? I don't know how other like guys who live stream do it where they don't have to look away from the camera. Like they're always looking at the camera. I guess maybe they have their questions and stuff going on behind them, but I've always got to look to the side. Um, let's see. Vincent Caruso, greetings from Rikers Island. I may have visited the island at a time or two. you know, back in my youth. Um, James, 5 times 1.5. Yes, exactly 5 times 1.5. What's up with the camcore shortage, bro? I was not aware, but I mean I'm not. Oh, actually, the camcore shortage has been going on for a while. I needed to order a cam like a year ago, a year and a half ago, and there was a problem with cores. Um, but yeah, I don't know. It's been. Um, let's see. Oh, the new clip. I'm like, yeah, we've stepped into the 23rd century now. See, I've got this thing, right? It's got it, right? So now I don't have to wear the headphones because there's no feedback off the speaker, although there's nobody talking right now. So, but yeah. Does it sound okay? Did it get rid of the echoes and stuff like that? Um, let's see. David was awesome. Yeah, we're gonna do a lot. We're gonna do a lot with him, and I've been pushing him to do a YouTube channel for a while now, and I think he's actually going ahead and do it, or at least take steps to it. So, um, Flint Merrick, any update on Steve Mack? Okay. The only thing I can say, right? Because now I've been brought into the loop and I understand some of the things that are going on, like, and they're just the usual craziness. Okay, like YouTube craziness, or show business craziness, if you want to, because it's not just YouTube, but a lot of craziness there, and it's one of the reasons why things have been kept so quiet. So the only thing that I can pass along to you guys is that yesterday something very positive. It was a very positive change, and that's all I could say. And it was out of the blue, and it's really amazing in my mind. I'm not religious in the least, right? And I respect everybody's beliefs. Everybody's, I'm not religious, but I do believe in energies. I do believe in things, and something very odd happened yesterday that was very positive, and I think it's funny. It's maybe coincidental with like 40 or 50,000 people all of a sudden wishing him well. Sending good thoughts, vibes, prayers, whatever it is that you send. It it had an effect. I can't tell you what the effect was or how big an effect it was, but it was a step in the right direction. And that's all I can say. And as soon as I have more information, believe me, I will pass it straight on to you. And Suzanne, I hope you're watching this, Suzanne. You let me know what I can say and what I can't say, and so just text me. I got my phone on me. Um, so yeah, but keep watching his videos. Keep the activity up there because, like I said, he's going to have a long road to normal, right? So any action that he can get, and plus now he's over 100,000 subs, so now he gets his silver play button, which is a big deal to a YouTuber. You get your first 100,000 subs, and they send you his plaque, and so now he gets his plaque. Zero, what's happening, brother man? Welcome to the jungle, Zero. And so yeah, so both Zero and Fubar both put up links to Steve Vignante's channel. So if you haven't subscribed, please go over there. give him a sub, and just watch a few of his videos. Let's get his watch time up, his hours up, and do what you can. Do what you can. Um, let's see. During one of his junkyard crawls, no, it had nothing to do with the junkyard crawls or anything like that. But very, I'm telling you, very positive turn of events. So let's just go. For 7 weeks, there was zero. And then all of a sudden, there was something. And it happened to coincide with the exposure that he's getting right now. So you tell me what that means. You tell me what that means. T-shirt says, I will not buy Japanese cars. No, I got this from a weekend from JP. It's actually a pretty cool channel. He's got a whole line of these things. And I saw that shirt and I was like, I need that shirt. I got to wear that shirt. So I bought it. And there's a link if you want to check out his merch. There's a link in the description of the video that we posted today. Yes, it is fantastic news. I had an ear-to-ear smile when she told me about it. Let's see. Eric Blair, hey, Tony, what do I have to do to go from a 318 to a 383 and a 68 dart? Easiest way to do it is, what's the company now? Transdapt. So Schumacher makes mounts. I think TTI was making mounts. There's a couple of places that make crazy expensive mounts, right? To put the big block in either a 318 or a slant 6 A body. Transdapt, TRANSDAPT, has a kit that I've used a dozen times over the course of the years. It hasn't changed. It's the same kit that they were making in like the 60s. Okay, and it mounts any V8, or you can go with a big block. It mounts the big block to any either slant 6 or a V8 K frame, and the kit is only like 60. Last one I bought was like $65. So it's the two mounts with the brackets, and they give you bolts and stuff like that. It's actually a steal. I hope it's still that cheap. I don't know if it's still that cheap. My last one I bought was like maybe 3 years ago. But it's a fantastic adapter set. When you put it all together, you'll see that you may need to add a washer or two on the driver's side. But that's all there is. So Transdapt would be the cheapest, easiest way to make that swap. Let's see. Yes, Tech Maven, there's good news. Just go back and watch a few minutes ago, because I covered that already. Bobby Z, 1964, JP is cool. I have his Legalized Freedom shirt. Yeah, it's a good shirt. I have another one too. It's Make 1984 Fiction Again. Let's see. Remind me not to take off Zero and Fubar. Oh no, don't take off Zero or Four. And if he's around Ari, don't take off him either. These guys have total control of. They can shut anybody down, including me, right? Just like that. So we all respect and honor our mods here. Let's see. Max level, Tony, why does my slant overheat in stop and go traffic? Blew my radiator seam twice. Is aluminum the way to go on my 64? Overheats in stop and go traffic, and you blew your radiator seam twice. So, and I'm assuming you've got all the bases covered, right? So it's a good thermostat, and obviously since you blew the seam, it's either a different radiator, or you had that one gone through. Mysterious overheating, I tend to lean towards head gaskets in a situation like that, because if everything is up to snuff, if the radiator is flowing and the fan is spinning and the water pump is spinning and the thermostat's opening and closing, I'm sure that you covered all those bases, then the only thing left would be something that's causing it to overheat internally. So generally speaking, head gasket issue. But again, I'm assuming you covered all of the obvious or common bases. Greasy Garage, knee deep in my first Mopar Resto, 69 Dutch Slinger, just needs everything but glass. Good luck, man. Welcome to the world. Well, the Mopar world. It's going to be expensive. It's going to be expensive. I got to tell you, it's not like the old days. It's going to be expensive. Um, yes, you're saying save your kidneys by UTG merch. Thank you. And you're agreeing with me on that, Zero head gasket? Uh, check the slant six for a blown head gasket. Okay, so yeah, it's like my opinion, and several other people jumping in here saying the same thing. If all of your other bases are covered, everything else is normal, head gasket. Um, let's see. Seymour Dollars, not having the fan shroud will blow it. Not a prayer. Utterly and totally impossible on a slant six dart. The distance between the fan and the core, the radiator core, no way. A shroud won't have any effect on it whatsoever. I know this because I automatically remove whenever I've got one of those cars myself, and I've done this since the 70s. The shroud comes off and it gets tossed because I don't need that complication in my life. You know what I'm saying? I try to simplify my engine compartments. So I can tell you from experience firsthand experience, there is no way a shroud would cause that engine in that car to overheat. Um, let's see, Creekside Garage. Is there a way to flush my expensive torque converter on the bench to use in another transmission? Well, did you pull it because of failure? You know, like in other words, like did the tranny eat itself alive, and that's why you're swapping the converter, or you want to flush it, or you just want to flush it for general purposes? Because uh, if it's not coming out of a destroyed transmission, you probably don't have a reason to flush it. Just leave it alone and send it. If, on the other hand, the transmission came apart, you suspect that material got past the filter past in the pan, from the pan through the filter, and it got pumped into the converter. Well, then you need to have it flushed. Can you do it yourself? No, not really, not really. Not effectively. Let's see. Kiwi left you for TikTok. Is he doing TikTok? I knew it. You can't trust those people from the upside down places. Not you, Taco, but right? Accept the shroud. No, I will not accept the shroud, Zero. No shroud for me. How's Kiwi's busted wheel? He's much better. He's much better. He just, you know what? He limps around for sympathy. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those things. It's like, he walks slow. He limps around for sympathy. It's just a way to get people to shovel more money over his way. Tony is against fan shrouds. Yes, I don't like fan shrouds. I like them when they're necessary. If you've got a small block Chevy in a Monte Carlo, right, 70 Monte Carlo, or Grand Prix, you need a shroud. That thing is like, you got that much space between the fan and the radiator. You need a shroud. But when you're talking about a Chrysler product where the fan is like literally half an inch from the core, no, the shroud does nothing. It's absolutely nothing. Where's Kat? She's inside. The Thursday night shows, the tech shows, she stays out of this, and I usually do it with Kiwi. But Kiwi has found another YouTuber or TikTok or something like that and left me call. Let's see. Laurel Flynn, you like my sense of humor. You should try my Zeppelis. Okay. Did Kiwi's old lady stick her in a nursing home? I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't. She's tough. She's a tough one. I can tell you. I would not go toe to toe with her. Let's see. D150 on 70s Mopars. Is the gauges or the dash lighting that runs off of the 5 volts? The gauges, and the temperature gauge and the fuel gauge, the gas gauge, both run through that voltage reducer. The lighting is regular 12 volt, and it runs through that rheostat, the dimmer in the switch. So the lighting is a 5 volt system, but it's regulated down or regulated up or down through the rheostat in the turn signal, in the headlight switch. Let's see. Bill Price, 318 poly spin on oil conversion. They came from the factory with the spin-on filters in later years. It's the same. Um, the oil filter mounting surface or mounting area on a poly block is exactly the same as an LA block. So you can use the offset adapter or the right angle adapter, I should say, or anything you want on there. If it'll fit on a 318, 340, 360, 273, it'll fit on a poly. D-Truth, where's a mini bike? No more mini. Yeah, I just, bro, I've been so busy with like life, with like everything. I haven't really had a chance to play with many things. So no, I got stuck at both mini bikes. Once Dr. Art's got his stuff going a little bit, then we'll, Okay. Oh, Uncle Kathy's in there. The Uncle Kathy. She's coming to me from the backyard. Um, I see Tony, the mic works great. No echo. Yes. It only cost us like thousands of dollars to get rid of the echo. Um, let's see. Mike N. How critical is it when doing a radiator flush on a small block Chevy to drain the block drain cocks? I drained and replaced the radiator only, and the fluid looks pretty clean. If it looks clean, it's good, but it's always a good idea. Whenever you're doing a flush, a cooling system flush, it's always a good idea to pull those drain plugs on the side of the block. And if it's something that if it's an engine you use regularly, and okay, here's the thing, right? Let's say it's like a race, a drag motor, okay, and you're running only water through it because your local track will only allow you to run water. And a lot of tracks are like that. Then they'll check that you have plain water in the cooling system. Take the radiator, the petcock that you find on the bottom of the radiator. It's the same exact thread as the drain plugs on the side of the block. So take those drain plugs out and screw a pair of those petcocks in. So this way, when you're not running the car, you just open the petcock, let the water drain out, and you don't have to worry about it sitting and freezing or anything like that over the winter. That makes life much easier. Okay, the Uncle Kathy, yes. The Uncle Kathy. Fred Larson, Tony, let's see a 218 flathead 6 on the mule. That might be going a little too far. I mean, I'm biting off more than I could chew with all of the different things I have planned for this car. But I love oddball stuff like that too, man. I would love to do a 218 flathead, the floating power 6. But I think I'm gonna leave it with what I've got lined up so far. Let's see. Mr. Mopar Wagon, are the early aluminum slant 6 blocks worth looking for, or is it just something to say I have one, I'd like to track one down? Yeah, there's a 64-pound difference between the cast iron block and the aluminum block of that era. There's the later block, the 81 through 87 block, is lighter than the cast iron block. But if you go to 1962 aluminum block, the 61 aluminum block, and the 61 iron block, it's a 64-pound difference. The problem with they have a couple of problems, and the first is that they rust or they rot at the top of the deck. It's got an open deck. So in other words, you take the head off, and instead of it being just like a flat surface or a closed deck, instead it's open. The top of the cylinders are exposed, and so are the water jackets. So what happens is, over time, and this happened way back in the day when the cars were in regular use, the antifreeze would start to break down. When antifreeze breaks down, it creates an acid. The acid reacts with the stainless steel in the head gasket, the cast iron in the cylinder liner, and the aluminum in the block, and it etches away right at the top of the liner. So when you find those engines, a lot of times, unless the cars were maintained meticulously back in the day, you'll find that the deck is all pitted, right? The decks will, I mean, I've seen them where they're really rotted, but generally you see a lot of pitting there, and that leads to sealing questions. And then also the head gasket, those engines use a special head gasket. The cylinder head's the same, but the gasket itself is different. So it's more of a conversation piece than anything you really want to use. Let's see. There has never been a bad Mustang made. I would argue with that a little bit. I would argue with that a little bit. Some of them became in the early '70s. Some of them became real tanks, real tanks. Hi Tony, are any Mopars undervalued? I'm not the value guy, right? I don't really keep unless I'm confronted with a specific car and I do some research on the value of that particular car, the desirability and research on it. I'm not really the value guy. Undervalued cars, C bodies have always been undervalued. Aspens, Volaris, and F body cars have always been undervalued. Um, most like early B body four doors are undervalued. There is one right now. Um, any of you guys that are in the Nashville area, there's a 1965 Coronet four door listed. It's in Lebanon, Tennessee, which is about 25 miles from here. It's right off of I-40. So this car has been on marketplace for the last couple of weeks. It's a 1965 Coronet four door. It's all there. It has a motor. It has the body. It's missing one door glass. Uh, and it's rough. Like this car has been sitting for forever. So visually, it's rough, but it's intact and it's all there. And the guy wants $450 for it. So if you're not afraid of the work and you're not looking for a perfect car, just something you could like beat around to be a good driver, well, $450 will put you in a 1965 Coronet with a polyhead 318 and all of the driveline stuff is there. You could build yourself a decent driver starting from that. You're working on a budget and you do a little work yourself. $2,000 is going to get you a running, driving B-body Mopar. Um, I hope somebody scoops that car. I sincerely do. I'm afraid that it's going to end up in a freaking scrapyard because that's kind of what happens. You know what I mean? Um, let's see. D-Truth, Tony, KYB, Monroe, Gabriel, what do you use? I, I'm not a shock absorber guy, man. I'm a torsion bar front end guy. So torsion bar front end guys, the best shock is dead shock. It's not like a coil spring car where the shock absorber has to control the up and down movement or the oscillations of the coil. Torsion bars don't oscillate. So yeah, for regular street car or regular street driver car, I never really pay attention. Shock absorbers, whatever's cheap, throw them in there. It's fine. And for a high performance car, I take whatever shock is in there. I take a little drill, and I drill through the bottom of the shock, drain the oil out, and voila, the perfect front end. And if you want to see how that works, we'll look at how Bottle Rocket launches. Um, let's see. Mark Seppi, what are your thoughts on the VW VR6? Not familiar, bro. I'm not familiar with the engine. Um, okay, Joe K, if a harmonic balancer and crank snout does not have a keyway, is it a good idea to pin it? Or is there some balancer design not keyed for a reason? You know, I don't remember which ones are like that. There are a couple, and I've come across them. I don't remember which ones. Um, Geez, yeah, I would do some way to pin it. It depends what you're looking for, right? So if it's a low performance car, just a daily driver, and you take this thing apart, whichever engine this is, and you take it apart and it doesn't have a keyway and never had a keyway, well, it's going to do just fine without the keyway. So I'll put it all back together again the way the engineers designed it to be. But if you're going to step on the thing, if it's a high performance use deal modified, then I would absolutely pin the harmonic damper or cut a keyway. I mean, you can pin it too. It's easy to pin something like that. And I'm just using this as an example. If all you want to do is just drill, right? You put the damper on, and I've done this with other engines as well. But you put where the keyway isn't quite enough, and you don't have the machinery to broach another keyway into it. So all you do is you get it on there, you drill and tap through both the crank and the damper. You drill like a 5/16 hole in there, and you tap it, and you take like a 5/16 bolt and just thread it in, and call it a day. LSs are not pinned. Okay. LS has no keyway. So just out of curiosity, how is it fixed in place? How is it that it doesn't move? Um, Cato 76, 076. What's the max lift spring setup on a slant six? Five at 500 or just over 500, like 510. The retainer hits the top of the guide. So if you're going to go if you're going anywhere near 500 lift, then just automatically when you got the motor apart, just take a grinder and just face down the top of the guides, take them down to 150 thousandths of an inch, and then don't worry about it. Call it a day. Um, yes, the LS is just in hell place by a press fit and the bolt. Okay. Um, Not a factory 1.6 Miata keyways were incorrectly done. Crank snap would snap off. Really? Okay. Um, Sean A806. Do you have any experience with the knockoff carburetors or not? I do. I do. I bought a knockoff for a Harley. I bought a knockoff S&S Super E, which was a nice carburetor. It worked fine. It worked really nice. Um, I believe it was like 85 bucks off of Amazon. I bought a Rochester, a 2GC knockoff for a boat, and that was perfect right out of the box. And just recently, I'm going to say maybe 5 or 6 months ago, I did somebody brought me a satellite convertible with 318, and he already had the knockoff BBD, and that was another one that was flawless. It worked flawlessly. So yeah, there's a lot to be said for these knockoff carburetors. I mean, they're cheap enough that it's really worth taking a chance. But I have not had a bad experience with them. That's not to say there aren't bad ones out there, or that people don't have bad experiences with them. I myself haven't had a bad experience with the few that I've dealt with. Um, Andrew, UTG, when you're torquing connecting rods, what do you use as a lubricant? Light oil. I use a light oil, a penetrating oil. I use PB Blaster or WD-40 or whatever light oil I've got handy that I'm cleaning threads or lubricating threads with. Just a light oil. All you want to do is just take the friction away for that little bit, the added friction away during that time that it's being torqued. Lofty built. Conrod connecting rod wiggle play is normal. Yes. Yes. You look, there's a spec, there's a side clearance spec for your engine, whatever it happens to be. There's going to be a side clearance spec between the connecting rod and the cheek of the crankshaft. So look up what connecting rod side clearances is, and that's how much wobble you're going to have. So if it's 15 thousandths of an inch, you're going to have 15 thousandths of an inch worth of movement on it, and that's when the engine is stationary. It's nothing is spinning. There's no centrifugal force at work, and there's no cushion of pressurized oil. You'll get that movement, but once the engine starts, the oil is pressurized, and the centrifugal force wants to throw the connecting rod out to the side. Then that movement disappears. Tavo says he has a knockoff BBD and can't fault it. Listen, those are my experiences with these carburetors. You think about it, right? How badly can you screw up a carburetor? They're the simplest things in the world. All of the engineering on these were done way over a half a century ago. How do you screw up a carburetor other than maybe having bad O-rings or like poor material as far as O-rings or gaskets and whatnot goes? But as far as the actual carburetor itself, a drilled passage is a drilled passage. A metered passage is a metered passage. There's nothing to screw up. There's nothing to screw up. Sean, The 1966 Ford Galaxy 500, I plan on picking up, may need a new Motorcraft carburetor one day. Uses a Motorcraft 2100 two-barrel carburetor. Those are great cars. Now, yesterday I went to go visit my friend Ralph. He's over at Streetside Classics. And on my way out to the parking lot, I see a 63 Galaxy, and it's got 427 emblems on it. And I was like, oh, right. So I went and I checked it out. I'm looking the car over, and it's like Survivor, right? It's got like original paint. It's been buffed out, and somewhere along the line, somebody probably 40 years ago, somebody took some spray paint and tried to match. But it's okay. It was part of the car's patina, right? Interior was beautiful, and I'm like, oh, this has got to be like an R code car, right, or something like that. But it wasn't. I popped the hood and I looked at the VIN. Ford's got the VIN in that on those cars. It's got the VIN in that weird little on the passenger side, and you can barely read it because of the hood hinge and everything, and it's upside down. But it had it was a V code car, so it was born with a 6-cylinder. But somebody had swapped in a really nice 427. Or at least I believe it was a 427. It looks like a 427, and it had like the R code, the exhaust manifolds, and it had dual quad, set up, and it was a really cool car. But it was a knockoff, a clone. It was a clone. Let's see. Paul Capizzola, what's happening, brother man? Chris Greenaway, UTG, pretty much they're the same since the Blue Pro, the carburetors. Have been out since the dawn of the engine. It's just the tolerances of the blueprints that they have to get right. Dude, there's not much in the way of tolerances. Once you get past the actual jets, if the jets are right, then the rest of the passes, they can be off a little bit, and it's okay because it has to pass through the jet. So as long as none of them are smaller, as long as none of the passages are smaller than the biggest jet you would throw in there, it doesn't make any difference. Zero is saying many vehicles running in China with carburetors, so they have them figured out. Yeah, absolutely. Throttle Davidson, what's your go-to size power valve for your 750 Holly carbs? There is no go-to size. The power valve has to be chosen through vacuum, the engine's vacuum rating. So the carburetor size has nothing to do with it. The cubic inches of the engine have nothing to do with it. The amount of vacuum that the thing is pulling at idle has everything to do with it. So do a Google search, do a YouTube search of choosing a Holly power valve. I know I've actually searched my channel. I've done probably 1 or 2 videos that cover that specifically. But yeah, it has nothing to do. There is no go-to power valve. The power valve is specifically tailored to the vacuum characteristics of the engine. Let's see. Mike, I heard from Dallas. Hope his health issues are better. I didn't know Dallas had health issues. I saw him maybe 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, something like that. He looked pretty good. Let's see. Stray bullet, only the crank pulley will affect the water pump speed. Well, the water pump pulley too, right? The smaller the crank pulley, the slower the accessories turn, and vice versa. If you got a smaller water pump pulley than crank pulley, it'll spin the water pump faster. Saw an 850 CFM carb on eBay from China, like $300 new. See, yeah, that's the thing. At that point, right? So it's one thing in my mind. It's one thing to pick up a knockoff BVD for $75. And you say, well, we'll give it a shot. And if it doesn't work, I can toss this thing. And it's like, what am I really out? But when you start getting into a $300, an 850 Holly, a knockoff 850 Holly, at that point, no, I absolutely would not pay $300 for a knockoff. I would go to a swap meet and buy a good core for $50, $75, $100, just something that has been in a swamp for 60 years. Just buy a decent core, throw a kit at it, and now that it's good to go forever. For $300, I would absolutely not buy a knockoff 850 Holly. Well explained, thank you. Throttle Davidson, I don't know. I'm sorry, my brother, I don't remember what the question was. but I'm glad that it worked for you. Uh, Andrew, what's your practice for torquing stock used connecting rod and main cap fasteners? Do you follow a manual spec or do you torque the fasteners a bit extra? I do. I add 5 pounds to the rods and I add 10 pounds to the mains. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm not telling you to vary from the specifications, right? This is one of those things like don't do what I do, or forget that. Okay, uh, I'm not telling you to vary from the specs because every engine is a little bit different, and some of them may be more or less forgiving than others. But when I do the typical engines that I work with, I add 5 pounds to the connecting rods. I add 10 pounds to the mains. And I do the same thing with the head gasket, with the head bolts. I add 10 pounds to head bolts. So if it's supposed to be 75, I go to 85. But I'm not telling you to do that. But you asked if that was what my way of doing it, and that's my way of doing it. Let's see. Anthony Morrow, Uncle Tony invested in an Edelbrock VRS 4150 750 CFM for my 408 stroke on my 70 Duster. Rest of my project car. Man, the car leaps when you whack it. What a carb. I got it based on a video you did. God, I'm glad it worked out for you. I have still yet to have my hands on one of those carburetors. But I'm glad it worked. Blue Bro, I have a 7340. I installed a rear main seal. Number 5 main cap has a gap. It measures 18 thousandths. Felpro says there will be a gap, but can't provide the spec for the size of the gap. Is this too much? Oh, okay. Let me read this one more time here. 7340. I installed a rear main seal. The number 5 main cap has a gap. All right, so the seal is included in that main cap on that engine. It measures 18,000 inch. Okay, but where are you measuring this gap? Felpo says there will be a gap. It can't provide the spec for the size of the gap. This is too much. Where are you measuring that gap? Blue Bro, I'm going to keep an eye open for you. Paul Capizzola, hey Tony, the live with David Haken was fantastic. Sure wish Mopar Performance Direct Connection was still supporting the muscle car. Dave, listen to me. When it comes to David, you literally only saw the tip of the iceberg. This guy has knowledge on top of his knowledge. He's forgotten more than, and he's anybody who was anybody that was still alive, let's say from in the late 1970s into the 80s, anybody who was a player in the whole Detroit muscle car scene, right? David knew firsthand, right? Like he networked himself through all of these people. The things that have come through his hands, the literature and the stories, the behind the scenes stories and stuff like that, you could not fathom. This guy is like literally he is history, right? So yeah, we're definitely gonna do more with him, and I'm pushing him to do a YouTube channel. He needs to do a YouTube channel. Let's see. Mopar Man, a movie named Chopper from us. Was that it's Zero? Was that the guy who cut his ears off? I think I saw that. He had was that the guy? Boss, yeah, okay, yeah. I saw that movie like I guess when did it come out? Right, like 20 years ago or thereabouts. Yeah, I remember that. Badass. Yeah, you know what? I gotta watch that again. Rick asks, hey Tony, will an 8-blade slant 6 water pump be okay? Originally it was a 6-blade. Won't it make too much pressure? No, it won't make too much pressure. Yeah, the 6-blade is non-AC. The 8-blade is AC. So if the car had air conditioning, it came with 8-blade. If it had non-air conditioning, it came with 6-blade. That's the only difference between them. And either one of them will work fine for you. The 8 blade is going to use a touch more power than the 6 blade, but you'll never notice it. Scarlet will David Hakem be a regular Hakeem? David Hakeem. He used to go by David Hakem, and I know him as David Hakem. Now he pronounces it Hakeem. So, I love that guy. So yeah, David will definitely. We're going to do an old life with him. Not too far down the road. D-Truth, Tony, is Mission Impossible dead in the water? As far as I'm concerned, it is. But that doesn't mean that the concept is over, and I don't want to talk about that yet. But I will. I don't want to get ahead of myself, and I don't want to talk about things. I don't want to get ahead of myself. But that version of it, as far as I'm concerned, is. It went to a whole different place than it was originally intended to go. 250 Main. Hi, UTG fan. Steve Magnanti is a former guest on your show and is very sick. Dude, watch the video I did day before yesterday. We know all about it. David Musselwhite, can you use Slant 6 hydraulic lifters in a Mopar V8? They are the same. V8 and Slant 6 and 426 Hemi and all of them are exactly the same lifter. Okay, Blue Bro. The gap is measured between the block's mating surface and the number 5 main cap and the rear of the cap, essentially between the split between the crank is fastened to the block. But the cap fits correctly. Am I right? So in other words, like the main part of the cap, the bolts go through and fits into the registers in the block. That fits correctly. There's no gap there, but there is a gap at the very back, the parting line. So if you're looking at the back of the engine without the crankshaft in place, without the crank flange in place, you would see an 18 thousandths of an inch gap between the two surfaces. Is that normal? I don't know. I don't know if that's normal. And I don't see where it would be an issue. If the seal is, okay, you got to go by seal crush. So if at the very back of the block, and again, we're picturing this without the crankshaft in it, and you've just taken a number 5 main and torqued it into the block, and you've got an 18 thousandths of an inch gap where the main seal would ride, right? So the parting like an 18 thousandths of an inch. It's not going to make a difference. It's not going to make a difference, providing that the gasket is, so not the gasket, the seal. The seal has to be crushed in place. So here's the only thing you need to know about that, forgetting about the gap, okay? If you take the seal and you put it down into the block, and then you lay a straight edge across it. So you push the seal down as far as it's going to go. And then you lay a straight edge across the surface of the block with the seal, so here's the seal, and you're going to lay a straight edge like this, okay? The ends of the seal should be just above, maybe 2 thousandths of an inch or so, above the surface of the block. And you should have the same thing on the cap. Because what happens is now the seal crushes into place. It doesn't crush that much because then it would distort it. But the seal is built with just enough crush so that when everything is together, so what I'm trying to say in a roundabout way is that a gap at that back surface is not going to make a difference as long as there's crush to the seal. Does that make sense? I don't know if I answered it in the right way because I don't know. But Redneck just saying hello. Okay, Tabo was saying just don't use small block lifters in an Aussie Hemi 6. Okay, so AMC, American Motors, use the same lifters, same diameter lifters, but the AMC lifter is slightly shorter. It's got like the plunger is 20 thousandths of an inch shorter than an original Chrysler one. So if you buy a new cam and lifter setup they all use the AMC style lifter now. They don't use the old Chrysler style anymore. And you can tell the difference because the Chrysler style lifter, the hydraulic lifter, doesn't have a hole in the center for the oil. But the AMC style lifter does have a hole for the oil. So if you're using a hydraulic, you buy a new cam and lifter set, let's say from Com Cams, the hydraulic lifters they send you, if they have that hole in the center, Those are AMC style lifters, and they're going to be 20 thousandths of an inch shorter. So basically, your push rods are going to just float in there. You're not going to have any preload. So that's something to take into account. Um, let's see. DHM, whatever happened to the Slant 6 Miata? People always ask me, that car's been gone for a long time. People keep asking me about that. I built it, got it running. I tooled it around the parking lot, around the shop area. It was a fun car, but I had no interest in taking it out autocrossing. I built the car specifically to go autocross with it. So not for me to go autocrossing. I wanted the car to go autocrossing. For me, it was just proof of concept. Can I put a Slant 6 in this car and make it all function? And I did. And so as far as I'm concerned, as soon as the car was running and I could drive it, well, that was it. Project's done. Now I have no interest in taking the car out and going autocrossing. So I had three separate people. I had three different people say that, yes, I want to take this car and go autocross it. And I was like, yes, you take that car and you go autocross it. And when you finish, just bring it back to me, right? And I was like, and I had three people who said, yes, I'm going to do this. And not a single one of them ever followed through. So at that point, I was just disgusted. I had no interest in using the car. So I parted it out and got rid of the Hulk. So that's what happened to the Slant 6 Miata. It was actually one of those things that it was definitely more entertaining, like to build, than to put it together. It was a fun car, don't get me wrong, right? But the idea of it was cooler than the end result. And so after I was finished with it, I was like, what am I going to do with this thing? I really have no interest in like doing anything with it. And it wasn't really a comfortable, fun car to just like roll around and like use as a driver or anything like that. So like, it's got to go. So we parted it out. Olive, I've been happy to try ripping that, but was unable. Well, I mean, if you were local, you could have come and just picked it up. I mean, that's what it was like. I was like, anybody, just come and take this car and go use it someplace. Straight Bullet, was it a fast autocross car? I don't know, because I'm not an autocross guy. I'm not a handling guy. I know nothing about it. Not only do I know nothing about it, I know less than nothing about it. So was it a fast car? Well, by Slant 6 Miata standards, yeah, it was pretty fast. Maybe like I have nothing else to compare it to. It's not my cup of tea. It's not the thing that I do. Let's see. But it was good content. You should have kept it. Nah, I just wasn't into it. And I've been, for the last couple of years, I've been trying to clean house. I've been trying to get rid of things that I'm 61, right? I've got more I've got more than I will ever use. So I've been like paring down. And when I look at something these days, and I say, do I really have a use for this? Do I really have a long-term vision for this? Is this something I really, really want? When it doesn't fit that criteria, it's like, okay, you got to go. You got to go. So I've gotten rid of several cars and motorcycles over the last like 2 years or so, and I don't plan on adding anything else. So, but that was, and the Miata just fell into that category. You know what I mean? It's like, no, you're taking up space. Goodbye. You're a burden now. Goodbye. Dean Stevenson says, yes, it was the fastest Slant 6 Miata in the universe. Stranger Sound, no, buy more, indulge the horde. No, I'm good, bro. I'm good. I'm trying to simplify. I'm trying to simplify. I don't want to have to think about. Yeah, I just cutting. You know what I mean? Just cutting out the fat. Just cutting out the fat. I want to lighten my load. D-Truth, Tony, are you a flat earther? No, I'm not a flat earther. Yes, I went way down that rabbit hole looking for things that I could, but no, sorry, I'm not a flat earther. But That's not to say that there aren't some theories that go along with that I'm in agreement with. So, but I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. I'll save that for Sunday nights. We'll talk about that stuff on Sunday nights. Let's see. Tony, want to buy a Valiant U? No. No. I'm telling you, there was a 65 Coronet, $450. And I looked at this car and I'm like, I could turn that into a car in like a week, no problem, right? I passed on it. Like it might as well be free. You know what I mean? It's like they might as well be saying, here, come and get this car and I'll give you $450. It doesn't make any difference. I don't want to add more complication to my life. I'm trying to simplify. Flute bar. Tony, did you give Peg his leg back? I don't know who this Peggy is, and I never took her leg. I didn't touch. I have no idea. Optimistic pessimist. No truth to a flat Earth. I agree with you, but there are certain principles that they go by that do raise questions. That's as far as I'll go with that. You know what I mean? There are interesting aspects to, you know, it's just like if you have a religion, whatever religion you are, and you look at other people's religions, you're going to find stuff in other people's religions that are like, well, that makes sense. You know what I mean? And if you've got an open mind, you understand it, you'll read through it, and you'll understand it, and you'll add that to your foundation of wisdom, right? Well, it's the same thing with like stuff like flat Earth or any of the oddball conspiracy theories. You know, there's always something to think about when you look at this stuff. Let's see. Did Armstrong walk on the moon? So I've said this before, say it again. I'm not saying we didn't go to the moon. I don't think that we did. All right. So you see what I'm saying? I don't think we did. No, right? No. But I'm not saying that it didn't happen. I could very well be wrong, but I don't think that we did. Okay, Terrence Seymour. Tony, I delved into the ignition problem I had on a Newport that Mexican spec asked you about for me, and it turned out to be a loose connection on the ammeter. Cheers, mate. Congratulations. Okay, Uncle Kathy's popping in. I thought it was Tech Night. She's the UTG police. Optimistic, pessimist. I doubt we went to the moon as well. Yeah, I don't really care. It doesn't make a difference. I don't really care. Grease that speedometer cable to stop the ticking. Make sure you use a graphite-based lubricant on that. Is Paul McCartney a replacement? You know, I think that he is, but I'm not saying that. You see what I'm saying? Right? Yeah. You know, Paul is dead. Yeah, I think so, but maybe not. I don't know. Mexican spec is saying Tech Night without Kiwi equals conspiracy night. Well, everybody loves a good conspiracy, right? Dakota's timeout. I argued with a lot of my school teachers about the moon landing. Well, bro, here, you know, the thing you gotta understand about school teachers, this is true for a lot of professions, but the thing you have to understand about school teachers is that they have to follow the curriculum. They have to follow the line. So if this is what's in the history book that they're handed and you know that they have to teach out of, right? Then well, that's what it is. That's what it is. You know, the question is who wrote the history. You know what I'm saying? History is always written by the winners. Right? So it's not, you know, teachers are not somebody who you can argue with. Teachers are with the program. That's simple. Missing 411 is no conspiracy. No, it's not. The India moon landing was funny. Did they use like a paper mache thing with like? John M., what do you think about the Secret Service guy coming out of found the second bullet in the Kennedy limo? Well, that wasn't the second bullet he found. That was to quote the magic bullet. I don't know about it. Deathbed confessions, you know, you got to give them some credibility. but I don't know. Let's see. Dakota said the Confederacy landed on the moon in 1861, but they didn't get credit for it. Let's see. Mike DeMayo, I'm looking for car questions. Mike DeMayo. Oh, I lost you, Mike. There you go. Can you run a block fill in a street engine? Yes, but you have to leave an inch or so, inch and a half, maybe even a little more. Be generous with it. You have to run an air gap at the top, so you can't roll it full fill. You can't fill it to the deck, but you can fill it. Let's say leaving an inch and a half or so thereabouts. Water flow space at the top of the deck, so you could do like a 3/4 fill, let's say, and you could use that on the street. And tons of street engines have been done like that over the years, and it works out fine. Mark Hollister, do you have any tips on removing a seized torsion bar on a B-body motor? So what happens sometimes? Where is it seized? Is it seized in the? Well, it doesn't make any difference really. Sometimes the torsion bar will etch its way into either the hexes, either on the torsion bar cross member or the lower control arm. Sometimes the torsion bar will like kind of eat into the metal there, and so it doesn't want to come out. They don't want to release. Any tips on how to do that? No, I have no good tips with that. The only thing you might want to try, and you're going to do it at the risk of damaging the torsion bar, whatever. You're going to do it at the risk of damaging the torsion bar, is you might want to take a pipe wrench, okay, and twist the bar counter its normal twist. So it's normally twisted this way, right? Use the torsion. Obviously, you're going to undo the adjuster to take all the tension away, but try taking a pipe wrench and twisting the torsion bar in its opposite direction and tap it from that, and that might free it. Because what's happening is the corners of the torsion bar, they're rounded, they're not sharp, they're rounded a little bit, but I have seen them dig into the torsion bar cross member, the hex that they fit into there. So try twisting it just slightly opposite direction and tapping at the same time, and that might. Let's see, John, how do you know if you have a bent axle? The tire goes like this? I don't know. Mike, and car question here. What's the best way to dispose of old oil? Can I just go to the edge of the world and dump it off? That's what a cat would do. So let's just say you had a giant, huge cat that could find its way to the end of the world, and you gave it oil to get rid of. That's exactly what it would do. It would go to the end of the world, just push it off. Where it goes from there, I don't know. But I don't know. Let's see. Heat. I don't know. It's just the word heat. Yes, heat, warmth. Ivy Raunchy 20 port at the base of a wooden fence to keep it from rotting. Yeah, you could do that, but you see, I can't say stuff like that, right? There's lots of different creative uses you could have for old, liquids that are sometimes very helpful and good, but I can't say stuff like that. Swamp Rat, my brother, Normal James. Does Kathy really exist? There are more credible Bigfoot sightings than Uncle Kathy sightings. I see Uncle Kathy pop on here and comment, and I've never seen Bigfoot jump on here and comment. So therefore, I tend to believe that Uncle Kathy is real. KJ Kylie, Tony, MSD. Oh, hey, what's happening, brother, man? Tony, MSD and Larry Shepard both recommend drilling holes in the distributor cap to prevent ozone buildup. What do you think? That was actually Jenkins who came up with that. He was like the first guy that I know of that was doing that. Ionized air, yeah, it's probably overkill. Like that's one of those things like where in theory, you know what I mean? And the idea was to prevent spark scatter because at high RPM they feel that the air becomes ionized enough inside the distributor cap that it will start conducting and making the spark jump around. And in theory, yeah, I mean, I guess it's valid, right? But in actual practice, I don't think so. I don't think so. Advanced Oil will take used oil. Yeah, any oil change place, any auto parts, so that they'll all take the used oil because they sell it to refiners. Let's see. Mike Bauger, I have a 66 383. I want to build a stroker. What is a good combination? Well, I mean, the easiest one is just drop a 440 crank in it. You end up with a 426, a low deck 426, and use a short rod. That's a well, it's the 383. It's the 383 version of the 451 that you would build off of a 400 block. But the low deck 426, you have a 4 1/4 bore. Why would you go bigger than a 4 1/4? You go 60 over on that thing. But yeah, the 4 1/4 bore with the 3 3/4 inch stroke gives you a 426, and it's a happy motor. That's a good combination. Let's see. Gold Coast auction, hand pink waving. I don't know what that means. Can you make a Mopar run on a one tractor motor? Yes. Hand orange covering eye shade, orange covering eyes. Shrooms? Mescaline? There's something going on there, but enjoy your journey, my brother. Let's see. Dakota, Tony, what do I have to do away with the lean burn system? My 85 D150 doesn't have a lean burn system. Yeah, the 85 doesn't have a lean burn system? I don't think so. You know the lean burn system. It's attached to the air cleaner. It's that big box. It says lean burn on it. I don't know what you got there. If you do have lean burn, then the easiest way to get rid of it is just to drop in a standard distributor, just a regular vacuum advanced distributor, because the lean burn system, all the lean burn system really did was it regulated timing based on load, as calculated through engine vacuum and throttle position and all the other stuff. But all it did was, if you look at a lean burn distributor, it has two sets of pickups in it, with no mechanical advance. And the computer would bounce between those two pickups to determine when the optimum timing would be. And it sucked. It was terrible. And the easiest way to get rid of it is just to take that out and drop in a distributor with a single pickup and mechanical advance and run it. And that's it. You're done. The carburetor works fine. The lean burn carburetor works fine all by itself. Nick Bruni, UTG, small block Chevy question. Sorry. Don't be sorry. Does some muddy rust from the temperature sensor hole of a 350 Chevy head a big issue for overheating? So if you guys aren't familiar, the coolant temp sensor on a small block Chevy is in the head on like the header side, right? You know what I'm talking about, on the exhaust side of the head. Some muddy rust from the temperature side. You shouldn't have muddy rust anywhere in there. I'd give it a good flush. Now I'm trying to picture how the water jacket. It's been a long time. I'm trying to picture the relationship of the water jacket and the cylinder head to the block on that, where the temperature sending switch. Yeah, I can't picture it, but I would flush that thing good. No muddy rust is good. It don't have an air cleaner. Then Dakota, if you're not sure, then just pop the distributor cap off. If you see one pickup, it's not lean burn. If you see two pickups, it's lean burn. Dakota, you might be on the same stuff that Gold Coast Auction is on. Nice. I don't do any drugs myself. I don't drink or do drugs, but I encourage, get, let's see. Let's see. Ash, big fan. Question: can race-style steel bell housing stretch over time? Swapping out to another transmission, and we are indexing the old bell housing, and the total run out is 50,000. That's not terrible. That's not bad. No, I mean, unless it's been like exposed to like trauma. You know what I'm saying? Like real trauma. No, the bell housing won't deform over time. It's probably had that 50,000 run out all along, and if I checked it and I had 50,000 run out on the can, no, I wouldn't even bolt it. Send it. That's within factory. K. Nelson, Uncle Tony, ever going to tell us what the perfect car truck to hoard is? I will. Not yet. Stevie, running with no air cleaner, okay for a little Tony? So the air cleaner thing on some of my cars, I don't bother with an air cleaner. I just don't bother with an air cleaner, and it depends on the use. So if the car is used on regular streets, regular highway, you don't live in a particularly like dusty, dirty area. You don't live where there's a lot of construction. You don't live where there's a lot of sand and whatnot. I don't really worry about air cleaners. And here's why I don't worry about air cleaners for the most part. And that's because, have you ever taken apart, inspected the air filter on a car that hasn't had a filter change in, let's say, 50,000 miles? What do you see when you look at a dirty air filter? You see just usually like blackish, carbony kind of dirt. You don't see big chunks of things stuck in there, okay? And if there is anything stuck in there, it's going to be something like a leaf. You know what I mean? Or right? Or like a spider web, okay? There is absolutely nothing that you will find on a typical air filter in normal use that the engine would not just pass through. So you think about it, you drive 50,000 miles, the air filter is all black, right? Well, over the course of 50,000 miles, your engine would have just absorbed all that. It's just the air and just passed it right through. There's no chunks in there. There's no grit. There's no, you know what I'm saying? So that's why there's over time. It's like I don't stress it. You know what I mean? I just don't stress it because experience after looking at 1,000 air filters and seeing painfully few pebbles and rocks stuck in them, very few caked with mud during normal use. You know what I'm saying? So just use an air filter, though. Use your air filter. Let's see. Dependable is saying, yeah, but if it has a vacuum advance, it's not lean burn either. Yes, I'm sorry. I should have said that to begin with. One of the telltale things on a vacuum one of the instantly recognizable things on a lean burn system is that on that computer that they mounted to the air cleaner is a vacuum advance canister. So, yeah. Dakota, he's right. I'm sorry. Joe K. So if an engine ingests a piece of corn, will it pass through unscathed? Yes. Zero saying, boss, Mopar Man has a good question. Let me find Mopar Man's question. Oh, okay. All right. Mopar Man 78. UTG, I bought a standard set of U-joints pair of U-joints the other day for my 8 3/4 rear. Then I was told about special Mopar ones with a flat spot that the crosshatch pattern underneath. Then I was told about special Mopar ones with a flat spot that has crosshatch pattern underneath. Mopar man, if such a thing exists, I'm lost on it. I've never heard of it. I've never heard of it. Tony, have you ever used an aftermarket wiring harness on a Mopar? I'm going to be installing one on a '73 Roadrunner. Yeah, I've had my experiences with aftermarket wiring harnesses, none that I ever installed myself, and I would not. I mean, I would use a replacement, like a restoration wiring harness. So in other words, like a copy of the original harness, I would use that. I would not use one of the universal harnesses. But that's just me. That's just me. Okay. Let's see. What's exactly, Uncle Tony? Uh, Juan Castanda. I don't. All right. Slingshot, Tony, do you still have a love for the '87 and '83 Fox body? Sold my last notch a few years ago, right before the prices skyrocketed. Do you think they're ever going to come back down below the $12,000 area? No, I don't. I don't. They're permanent collector cars. And yes, I do love them. I love, especially like, I'll watch a lot of these, like a lot of this like no prep stuff and a lot of like the back half races and everything. And the Fox bodies are everywhere. They dominate that. And like I love that. I love that. Yes, I'm still a fan of those cars. Um, Stranger sound. By the time you make a universal harness work, you might as well have made one from scratch, and that's the truth. Franco, what's happening, brother? um, let's see. I'm just going through trying to. Dr. Frankenstein, don't tell anyone I'm watching at work. Shh. I'm doing this at work, right? It's okay. Will the Mule see any other engines besides classic Mopar engines and the 4.0? Probably not. I'm open to it, but let me get it to where I've at least cycled everything I want. I know up front, I know ahead of time, I will never get all of the things that I want to put in there because it just isn't enough time. Okay. I know for certain the slant is going to go through there. I know for certain the 361 is going to go through there because those engines are together and running and I can pop them in and out. The 4 liter, that's the thing that I'm really working on now. I want to make the car so that goes in and out easy. But I mean, honestly, beyond that, like I'm gathering parts to put a 440 together for it. I would love to put something like a Viper, not even a Viper, just the truck V10. I'd like to stick that now. It's one of the things when I realized I needed to move the firewall back, I was like, well, I better move it back far enough to put a V10 in there. So, those are things I'd like to do, but I know realistically, I know they'll never happen. I know for sure the slant will happen. I know for sure the 361 will happen, and I know for sure that the 4 liter is going to happen. But beyond that, let's see how long I live. Right? Let's see how long I live. Rainy Slant 6. Tony, missed your live with David Hakem while it was live, but I watched it afterwards. I'm kicking myself for missing it live. There's a lot of questions I'd have to ask. He's going to be back. We're going to do another live again very soon, very soon. And also he's working on the channel. We're working on getting him running up and running on the channel. So you're going to see plenty of Dave from now on. And then he had fun. He enjoyed it. We talked afterwards, and he was like, "That was great. Thanks for having me on." So it's like he loved it. He loved interacting with you guys. So yeah, you're going to see a lot more of Dave. Dave, okay. My goal is to make sure that Dave takes his rightful place as king of the Mopar guys, because there was nobody. I will tell you right up front, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There is nobody on this earth alive today, or possibly alive at any time in the past, that has as much well-rounded knowledge of the Chrysler product, like the classic era Chrysler product, and all of the behind-the-scenes stuff, and everything that went on, and all of the engineering, and all of everything. There is nobody who can hold a candle to Dave. Nobody. UTG. It was about U-bolts that I bought. Oh. I know what you're talking about. Okay. The flat spot on the U-bolt. Yes. Okay. All right. Yes. When you bought the direct connection kit for the direct connection U-joint, yes, the U-bolts had a flat spot. So basically to spread the load out over the cap. Is that what you're asking? I don't know, but that, yes, those U-bolts, the factory U-bolts that they used from at least the direct connection kit, definitely had flat spots where the U-bolts contacted the caps. Bill McKeisker, thank you, sir. Super chat here. Is you possibly putting a 5.9 Cummins in the Mule? That would be fun. And I'm going to make everything big enough in there so that, because I don't want to be carving up the car twice. I want to do it once and be done with it. So like I need 6 inches, for comfortable clearance on the 4.0. I'll probably squeeze it out to 8 or 9 inches, so that this way, anything else I want to throw in there, I'll have the room. So I'm going to overdo everything as far as space goes. And yeah, I could you see a Cummins sticking out the hood of that thing? Because you drop a Cummins into a B body. Please, yeah, that would be pretty interesting, right? Maybe. Olive, I actually like roasted locusts. Oh, Olive, I love you, sweetheart. All right. Let's see. Key Nelson, I noticed no seal between the hood scoop and the carb intake on Sledgehammer. Unity Motorsports as well. Has he ever tested his setup? It's not that kind of a scoop. It's not. It's those scoops don't really work that way. So when you've got a ram air kind of scoop, yes, you have to seal for so like a snorkel, okay, or even a big like open mouth scoop, as long as it's above the boundary layer. Yeah, for it to be effective, you have to seal it to the base of the carburetors. But on those grump lumps, there really is no ram effect. You'll get air coming in because what it is, it's cowl scoop. People put two and two together, but that's what it is. The grump lump is a cowl induction hood. It just doesn't go all the way to the base of the windshield. It'll look like a conventional Chevy one, but that's what that kind of scoop is. And ideally, if there was a real ram effect, yes, right? But both he and I use it for carb clearance. The only reason it's on there is for carb clearance, because by the time you put the velocity stacks, and the velocity stacks are very important. It's not just a velocity stack, like a K&M stub stack. The bottom of the carburetor, the area around the bottom, the carburetor has to be isolated from like wind and turbulence and everything else. And so that's why you use like a stub stack or even just the air cleaner base to isolate the carburetor from crazy winds. But both he and I are using those grump lumps as clearance over the velocity stacks. It's the only reason it's there. Paul Capizolo, how about 2 318s mounted end to end on the mule or a V16? That would be cool. But that's all. See now, Paul. If I was like 20 years younger, I would say, yeah, let's do that, right? Because that sounds like fun. But I'm not, you know what I mean? And I'm one guy working by myself, you know. And yeah, no. But if I was 20 years younger, absolutely, man, I'd be all over that. Yeah, let's stick 2 440s together and stick it in that thing and make some tires smoke. But I can only do so much. I can only do so much. Van Little Steve was part of my morning, so sorry. I heard optimistic news today, but that's as much as I could say. But I heard optimistic news, and there was a very encouraging development just yesterday. So that's all I'm going to say about it. It's just an encouraging development, and really that's really all it is. But a good sign. A good sign. Let's see. Yeah, Zero is putting a link to Steve Magg's channel. If you're not subscribed to Steve, please go over there, give him a sub, and watch some of his videos. Let's get his watch time going, because he's gonna need some moolah. You know what I mean? Once he gets out of there and he's up on his feet, he's gonna need some scratch to so building up his watch time and getting some YouTube loot going his way would be a very big help. Easy way to help the guy. Dakota Summer, I told you, if you were starving, would you rather eat a raccoon or a possum? Probably a raccoon. I think I would probably eat a raccoon first. There's something skeevy about possums. I can't really put my finger. I'm not against them. I'm not against them. I feel bad for them because they always look so helpless. You know what I'm saying? But there's something skeevy about them. I can't really put my finger on it. John McHill needs to be kicked off of this channel for saying Steve passed away. No, but he might just be misinformed. You know what I mean? No, don't kick him off. He might have just got bad information. So don't be like that, bro. Let's see. I'll say we do love our possums here. They do eat bugs. Yeah, I know. Possums are. I felt so bad. My dogs had one cornered in the backyard. There were 3 of them barking their asses off. Right? I went outside on the back patio there, and it was a possum, and it was playing dead, like that. And they were just standing there yapping and everything. I felt so bad for this thing. I can't begin to tell you. There's something pathetic about them, but skeevy at the same time, right? Like I wouldn't want to eat one. Standing foot. What's the best way to protect electric fuel pump from ethanol rusting it? It'll never rust it as long as it's always submerged, because the ethanol needs air. The water, let's say, in there would need air to cause oxidation. So as long as it's always submerged, it'll never rust. If it has to sit for any amount of time, I would drain it completely and throw like a light oil in there, like a WD or a PB blaster, and then tape over the ends if it's got to sit for any amount of time. Okay. Esner just subbed to Steve Childs. Okay, excellent. Eating bugs like eating scabs. Yeah, you know what, guys? I mean, you're eating porcupine, you're eating possum, you know what? I'm gonna stick with beef and chicken and pork. Okay, you know what I mean? You guys can go eat whatever you want to eat. I'm gonna stick with your basic beef, chicken, and pork. um, uh, Big Red Channel 20. Sorry, UT, gonna jump over to Steve's and watch some content. Make my man some money. You go, man. You go. That's no problem. Try kangaroo. No, man, I'm gonna stick with beef, chicken, and pork. You guys can eat all that stuff. That's great. Like so you asked me that question. Like if you had to choose between raccoon and possum, which would you choose? I choose beef. That's it. I choose beef. You can choose between those. I'll find a way. Whatever that way happens to be, I'll get real meat. I don't need to eat critters. Thanks anyway though. What if you were starving? I would not be starving. You see, I would never put myself in a position where I would be starving enough to have to eat critters or bugs. It's just not going to happen. But what if? No, there would be no what if. I will always be in a position where I have a unlimited supply of whatever it is I want. That's why I work hard. That's why I do what I do. Olive, roasted locusts are kind of like roasted cashews. I'd skip on. No, Olive, I'll just go get the roasted cashews. You see what I'm saying? I can afford the roasted cashews. I'll eat the roasted cashews. I don't have to eat bugs that taste like roasted cashews. Uh, Billy Bob Holcomb, when I need a break from steak, I have pastrami. I love pastrami, but you can't get good pastrami here in Tennessee. It's one of the few things the best you can find is the Boar's Head pastrami. It's okay, but it's not nearly as good as those mom and pop brands that they would have up in New York. Greasy, slimy pastrami. Oh, unbelievably good. They just can't get that here. It's one of the few things that I do miss from New York. That and knishes. You can't get knishes. Well, because there's only a handful of Jews here, so we don't really have that delicatessen, the delicatessen culture here. You know what I mean? So it's like you got wasp delicatessen culture, and it's just not the same. So you can't get good stuff like good pastrami and good knishes. I miss that stuff. You have no idea. Uh, let's see. Pastrami is a problem here also. Lamb is usually terrible down here. Yeah, lamb is hit and miss. Sometimes I'm into it, sometimes I'm not. You know. Let's see. Um, Robert Posey, do you know of any conversation videos? I don't know what you mean by that. Um, Key Nelson UT, what's the news on your new shop? Is it closer to where you live? It's just slightly closer, but it's much more easily accessible, and it's across town. So my current shop is across town into like no man's land, and this shop is across town, but it's through all of the population. So I'm only like 2 or 3 miles away from parts and food and things, right? Anything I need. And very important to me is very close to my kids. So it's a lot easier, for Crystal to bring the girls over and stuff like that. So moving closer to them, and that alone makes it um, worth the trip. But that won't be happening until like February, and that's my goal to have the mule done by the time we move out of the shop, which would be in February. So by February, the car's gonna be together, running all of the combinations, ready to just pop in and go. I'm gonna drive that car out of there. Tony is German. No, not even a little bit. I'm Italian. 100% Italian. Slightly off-white. SYD Rider, how's Andy's GTX going? He's doing great. We talk occasionally. He's got another project that he wants to do, and we're trying to. He had some shoulder surgery, so he's been like he hasn't been 100%. So, but he has another car that he wants to do, and we're going to figure out somehow to make that happen. But it won't be until we're in the new shop. Zero, one of the great Italian Americans. Well, Zero, I mean, not to sound like an Italian snob, okay? But I think of this as little Italy, right? America is like Little Italy, because you stop and you think about it, right? We found the place, we named the place, and then we built the place. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you call it America, I call it Little Italy. Tony was one of the extras in Braveheart. I never saw that movie. That was what was his name? Mel Gibson, right? But I've never seen it. I'm authentic Italian. Yes, I am. I am very authentic Italian. You might even say I'm a stereotype, and I'll own that. You want to call me a friggin' Italian stereotype? Yes, I will. I will own that. I am a stereotype. Sometimes I watch myself and I listen to myself and I'm like, oh my God. I mean, you don't think of yourself that way. But yeah, I'll take that. I'm a stereotype. Jim K, I wonder how many Italians live in Tennessee. When I first moved here, I was an oddity. Okay, so I'm in Murfreesboro, so just south of Nashville, right? And the city was about half the size. We have 20 years now, and the city was about half the size that it is now. And so when I first moved here, I was like the token Italian, and I made friends right away. I went around. I went to as many places and bars and restaurants and everything, and I frequented them all the time. So I would get to know people, and so within like the first few weeks, I knew several acquaintances all over the city. I know the guys I was out riding motorcycles with and shooting pool with and everything else. So I made my friends and everything, but like I was the oddity. Like I was like they would introduce me as like and this is Tony. He's Italian. He's from New York, and people were like, "Really? How many people did you kill?" And then there was a rumor that I was in the witness protection program. That I came to Tennessee under the witness protection program, which is not true, absolutely not true. But that was one of the rumors when I first got here. Now, 20 years later, the city's grown. It's doubled in size, and now there's people from all over the place here. But when I first got here, I was the token Italian, and I was like a novelty. Perry Ford, you love the shirt. Awaken with JP. We put a link to it in the comments section. He's got a great channel. I wish he would wear more clothes when he advertises stuff, because I find myself, I watch one of his videos, and then as soon as it gets to the end, before he starts advertising, I click off right away because I don't want to see this guy walking around in his underwear. You know what I mean? But that's besides the point. Great channel, great guy. Awaken with JP is the channel, and we bought a couple of different shirts out of his store, but this is one of them. Yeah, Slingshot. Oh, that guy is hilarious aside from walking around in his underwear too much. Right, that's exactly right. Oh, shit. JP is great. He certainly is. Okay. UT, can you tell me more about the feather duster? I had one of those. Always thought the aluminum door hinges were weird. Feather duster and Dart Light. They were the fuel economy packages available in 1876. They had aluminum bumper brackets, aluminum under hood and under trunk lid bracing, aluminum door hinges, and which made these cars very sought after for race cars, which is why you really don't find them. They're not out there. They came with a single barrel 225 slant six with a specially calibrated carburetor, and I don't know what the calibrations were on it, but overdrive 4-speed transmission and a 7 1/4. Oh, Winnie wants to see me.
She's crying outside the door.
Okay, well, hang on. Give it to me. And they came with a 270 gear, 273 or 276 geared 7 1/4 rear, and they got supposedly 38 miles to the gallon on the highway. I have to say I don't Winnie, right? Where's she? I can't.
She's crying outside the door.
Come here. Were you crying outside the door? You want to see Daddy? Look how big she's getting. Look at how big she's getting. Look. It's YouTube. Look. Say hi. What? Winnie. She's how old is she now?
12 weeks tomorrow.
She'll be 12 weeks. She'll be 3 months tomorrow. She's grown. Now, if you remember when I first got her, we shot a video the day we got her, and I was holding her in like the palm of my hand. You know, she was obvious. She was bigger than the palm of my hand, but she fit in my hand like that. And now look at this. God, after 3 months, this is what we got. So, all right, hey, you want to sit here? You want to hang out? Or you want to go?
You take her?
Let's see. Yes, puppy. Winnie. Yeah, she's huge, right? It's crazy. She's almost as big as Maggie. Like she stands next to Maggie now, and she's like almost as big as Maggie. Let's see, Tony. What is the significance of the California Duster? Just a trim package. I've never heard of the California Duster. There was the Hang 10 Duster. There was the Feather Duster. There was the Space Duster. Geez, I know I'm forgetting one or two of them. But I've never heard of the California Duster. That might have been a dealer package that they had, California dealers. Don't know. Billy Bob Holcomb, just try to not give her treats for just being cute. I can't help it, bro. I can't help it. How could you not give this thing treats? What's great. So I can't really show you this now, right? Like because I just can't. But great. Okay. Border collies do this thing called derping out when they get excited, right? So you'll walk in like okay, so she'll be standing in someplace and you walk in and you'll say your name, right? And she'll get all excited and she'll derp out like her whole back will kind of get like spastic and stuff, and she'll start like twisting because she gets so excited. And she usually pees at the same time, but it's literally the most adorable thing you'll ever see. Maggie, you gonna show them how you derp out? Maggie, you're not Maggie, you're Winnie. You gonna show them how you derp out? Not now. You'll derp out later for now. She's a little under the weather right now. She's on her second dose of a deworming. She had bad worms. She had hookworms and roundworms. So she's a little under the weather. She gets one more dose tomorrow, and then her last parvo shot, and then we can start taking her out into the world a little bit. Yes, the Dart Light. There was the Feather Duster, and the Dart Light was its Dodge equivalent.
She wants to get down.
She wants to get down? Okay. Here, call her over there.
Winnie, puppy. Come on. Good girl. Come on.
All right, let me see if I can get us to derp out. Wait, turn her around and kind of close the door.
Close the door.
Close the door.
Yeah?
Yeah, close it. Wee! Yeah, she's not really derping now. I'll get it on video. We'll do a short. We'll do a derping short. Look, she's kind of doing it now. She's kind of doing it now.
Yeah. Come on. Let's go.
Chris Cabin, 3 months, that dog will be doing algebra. I know, they're brilliant dogs. Bruno Peretta, Tony, I buy a 1971 Challenge and new with 383. Why does the 906 did 1970 last year for 906 has because the following year they added hardened valve seats. Only difference. On the exhaust side, of course. How come we never see Kathy on camera? Some people really don't like being on camera, me being one of them. But this is what I do for a living, so I'm on camera. She prefers to be behind the camera, on the other side of the camera. Truth be known, when we started Uncle Tony's Garage, right? This was supposed to be, I was supposed to be like behind the scenes guy. And I was going to have like other people doing like stuff in front of the camera. And I was going to be organizing and writing and doing all of the things that you would do to maintain channels like that. I never I never expected to be the guy in front of the camera, but well, here I am. So, and Zero's putting a link to Steve Meg's channel. So again, if you haven't been over there, please go over there and subscribe to him. We got him over 100,000. He's gonna have a plaque coming when he's up and running and out of the hospital. He'll get his silver play button, and the more views he can get, you know, during that time that he's going to be rehabilitating, the more money he'll have to live on. So go over there, subscribe to his channel, and just watch some of his videos. You know. Let's see. Mexican spec, you can animate everything and just do voiceovers. Nah, no, I'm used to it now. I've been doing it for so long. You know, it's like a second nature to me now. I don't even realize that I'm doing it, but it took a long time for that to happen. Grover built Old Man's Garage. What do I think? I think that he is very fortunate in that he's, it's Bill I'm talking about, and his son Billy, the Hodgkins, they're very fortunate. They live in an area and they have a community there, both friends, family, and just the community that they're involved in that area. They're very fortunate people. I don't know if they realize how fortunate they are, because very few people have that kind of like friendship and family support level that they do, and I just think that's fantastic. You know what I mean? They seem like very nice, very genuine people, and they deserve all of the good things that come to them. Let's see. What happened to Bennett's shop? You know, I can't. It's not that I can't say, but I don't have a story or a version of the story that I can reliably say, well, this is what happened, because, excuse me, there are a few different versions of what went down there, and I don't know what's true and what's not. So I can't say. I don't know. Oscar Walton, Tony, have you ever heard of using LS lifters and valve train in a Mopar small block bicycle garage? Built one apparently. Yeah, I don't understand the purpose of that. I don't get it, because I mean, unless you're going over like 680 lift, I think it is. The stock rockers or the stock rocker shafts are like superior to everything. When you go to, let's say, a 700 lift or better, like a full race, real race camshaft, then you'll use rocker stands. Okay, so what they'll do is they'll machine the rocker pedestals flat and then use blocks to raise the rocker shafts up a little bit to make room for that much more movement. But I could not imagine there being any advantage of going an LS rocker over the stock Chrysler setup, especially for something that would be like street driven. Cold Wars Motors is awesome. Okay, Josh Bagwell, my 383 stroker has a problem. When I flat punch it from a dead stop, it lurches like a two-step. Once the RPMs come up to around 2,500, it comes alive. Too much pump shot. Try taking some accelerator pump away from it and see if that helps. Let's see. Zero. Gas stopped being shipped us because we supported Israel. That's what happened. Oh, I don't want to get involved in a conversation that I'm not part of. But if you're talking about the original embargo that happened in '73, that had to do with that was a currency issue. That was a currency issue. They'll come up with all kinds of stories. You know what I mean? They'll come up with every kind of story you can imagine. Blame this one, blame that one, blame the other thing. But that was currency issues that caused that. Not the 3-day war or whatever it is. Fubar, thank you for putting up the link to our merch. So Fubar put up the link to our merch, our hats, our shirts. Only this isn't one of them. This comes from awakenwithjp.com. This isn't one of ours, but ours are out there. And our bumper stickers, or stickers rather, if you want to represent, that's awesome. So Fubar just put up the link to all of that stuff. Thank you, Fubar, as always. Let's see. Raul Cruz, I saw an Edelbrock SP2P intake on eBay. It was a 4-barrel. What's the 2-barrel designation? Dual plane. Small port dual plane. But they did come in 2-barrel also. They came in both 2-barrel and 4-barrel configurations. But it's small port dual plane. Mark Langborn, what are your thoughts on the new coated comp lifters for eliminating the break-in run? Yeah, I don't know because I've never dealt with them. I don't know. I do know that if you're dealing with a lifter that doesn't have sufficient crown and a lobe that doesn't have sufficient taper, then I don't care what the surface hardness is, you will eat through it. Something is going to give. Yeah, I'm sure it's good, but it can't make up for bad machining. That's simple. Anthony Perna, what's happening, Anthony? Daniel Mathewson, do you think it's possible to put a 4-speed and 340 in a Valiant 4-door? Not only do I think it's possible, I think it's, well, for sure there were 273 4-barrel motors put into those cars with 4 speeds, 4-door and 2-door. Yeah, absolutely, I would do that, and it would be a very cool car. If you ask me, it would be cooler than a 2-door because nobody expects it. So yes, it's all bolts together exactly the same as it would with a 2-door car. Let's see. Who run Bartertown? I'm going to run Bartertown. Key Nelson, UT, do you ever watch Sarah in Tune? She's doing a very interesting 74 Celica V8 swap. I have seen her channel. I've seen a couple of videos that she did. She seems very, very engaging. She seems like a very nice, very engaging person. What I saw, I'm not. She wasn't working on cars that really appealed to me, so I never really watched. But I am familiar with her. She looks to be a very, very cool person, very good YouTuber. But I'm not familiar with any of her projects. Clayton's Toolbox. How much horsepower does a 9-inch Ford eat compared to an 8 3/4 Chrysler? That's on a sliding scale. That's on a sliding scale because the more power you put to it, the higher percentage of loss there's going to be. I could not spit out a number at you. I couldn't spit out a number, but I do know that people who have made the swap, and I've never done it myself, but after we did that video, there were people who jumped in there in the comments. You go back, go watch that video about 9-inch Fords, and there were people in the comments who made the swap, and they were specifically, yeah, I went from 8 3/4 to a 9-inch, and I lost 2.5 seconds, or 2.5 tenths, 2.5 seconds. My God, no, but I lost 2.5 tenths, or I lost 1.5 tenths, or whatever it was. There were people who were quantifying their own experiences. So there is definitely a tangible loss, and I can tell you right now, because I've never made the swap myself, but I have driven before and after cars, and it is sluggish. You do feel a difference. So, but how much power do you need to absorb? Because if you need to absorb a lot of power, then those losses aren't that big of a deal because the 9-inch is giving you that extra level of strength. Yes, the pinion is lower on the 9-inch. We did a whole video on that, like literally an entire video on pinion height, the relationship between pinion height and strength versus drag. Let's see. I'll go 20's garage fan. We don't have fans. We got viewers. We don't have fans. Fans would indicate that I'm in show business, and I'm not in show business. I do YouTube. I'm a mechanic that does YouTube, right? Leave people who act, they have fans. I don't act. I'm just me. Let's see. Jim K. Tony, what is the coolest, unusual build that you've ever seen? That would literally be impossible to answer because I've seen so many different things over the course of my life. Allison powered flip-top Chevelle to hydrogen peroxide rockets to, I mean, yeah, you name it, man. I've seen it. I have seen goats fuck in the marketplace, right? So, but to pick one that's like that stands out as the coolest, most unusual, I couldn't do it because as soon as I said one, 10 others would pop into my head. Needless to say, there's a lot of cool out there. Chris Cabin, Uncle Tony, why the gear reduction starters? Why not? They take less and they draw less amperage to do the same work. I don't know. I don't know. Space fans. Okay. Wayne Ferguson, 182 likes, 287 watching. See, that's what happens. If I don't have Kiwi, nobody likes this. Look at this. Just next week we'll have Kiwi, and then I'll get more likes. Anthony, what transmission came behind the 318 Poly, and what bell housing would bolt up? They came with 727s. It was before at that time the 273 in A body cars got 904s. The 318s and the B body cars, or the Poly had ones and the B body cars got 727s. So the Poly never got 904, but the bolt pattern is the same as any small block. So the bolt pattern lineage is the 1950s Dodge, or 1950 DeSoto first, then Dodge, then Chrysler, all of that bell housing, then the Polys, then the LA motor, and then the Magnum or the late Hemi and the Viper and the V10 and all that all have that common bolt pattern that goes back to the 1953 DeSoto. Let's see. Rachel, buy a tarp. Oh. Oh, that's great. Okay, Rachel Medrano. There's an 81 W250 4x4 crew cab for sale near me for 4,800. Should I buy it and throw a comes in it or fix my roof? Okay, and then classic Mexican spec. Buy it and pull down your house. Oh, Jim K. Rachel, buy a tarp. Stray bulb. The roof can wait. Get the car. Yeah. Okay. So there you go. There's all the answers for you. Go get it. Good luck with it, Rachel. Big Wrench Tech. What are your feelings about an HEI distributor behind the small block Mopar? A friend of mine is trying to eliminate the common ignition problems. Yeah, you'll just end up with different ignition problems. Stick with the Chrysler stuff. I have nothing against HEIs. I know HEIs. I've probably handled more HEIs in my life than I ever did Chrysler ignitions. But just don't even bother. You gotta just stick with the Chrysler stuff. Ford, stick with Ford stuff. GM, stick with GM stuff. Forget a little. Was it the valve train orientation the reason that the 392 is using top fuel for so long? The 392 is using top fuel racing for so long because of economy. Because when those engines went out of favor in the middle 70s, so the early to middle 70s, you could still go to a junkyard and buy one for $250, $300. They were out there, lots of them. So that was the big thing. Economy-minded guys were using the 392s. People with a budget went with 426s. That changed with the Donovan 392. You had some money guys go in that direction. They would use the Donovan block with iron 392 heads. But it wasn't so much valve train orientation. The Hemi has two reasons. There's only two reasons the Hemi works on nitro, and that's the cross flow, the cross flow, the dead combustion chamber, and that hurts it in normally aspirated applications, helps it in fuel applications, and the fact that the cross flow, it allows good evacuation. Or better evacuation of heavy liquids, because you have to evacuate. There's a lot of unburned fuel at the end of a cycle. So the large exhaust valve, the direct and the configuration of the exhaust helps to evacuate more of the liquid to get more of a fresh, cooler charge in. So that's the one thing. And then the centralized spark plug with no quench area. So like all of the things that hurt the Hemi as a normally aspirated engine work in its favor under nitro. So on nitro. So because there's no quench area, there's fewer places for detonation to set up, and the centrally mounted spark plug is less prone to detonation, which is why Chrysler went with the Hemi design to begin with back in 1951. They weren't trying to build a high performance engine. They were trying to make an engine that would run on all blends of fuel at all different altitudes and situations and not be detonation prone. By using the centralized spark plug, they could put more ignition timing into the engine and not have to run into detonation, pre-ignition, for the average person driving down the road. So you were able to calibrate it a little bit more aggressively because it was less prone to detonation. That was the only reason Chrysler went with the Hemi in 1951. And then everything else came after that. All right. And we've been at this now for 2 hours, believe it or not. That is pretty much unbelievable. I am going to call it a day here. So, guys, Ari, Fubar, Zero, thank you guys so much as always, keeping things under control. Everybody contributed super chat. Thank you also, you keep the bills paid. You keep the wheels turning. Thank you so much. Everybody who contributed with just your presence and your conversation, thank you equally. We appreciate everybody who comes through here. And that's it. I'm gonna pull a plug now. A bunch of odds and ends going on. Next few days gonna be very busy with stuff. So I'll catch up with you guys on Sunday night, 7 o'clock Sunday night. And Steve Magnetti, again, go over. I heard something encouraging yesterday, but I can't say what it is, but it's very encouraging. And but in the meantime, get over there and show your support. Sub to his channel, watch his videos, and that's it, guys. Good night. We'll see you tomorrow.